You're already falling into a black hole. You just don't know it yet. Sounds impossible, right? But what if everything you see, every star, every galaxy, is quietly drifting towards something you can't escape? Because out there are millions of black holes, silent, invisible, waiting. And here's the strange part. One of them is actually visible to the naked eye, just 3,000 light years away. So the real question isn't if black holes exist near us. It's what happens when one gets too close? Could Earth survive it? Could we orbit it like we orbit the sun? Or would we be torn apart before we even understood what was happening? But that's not even the craziest part, because black holes aren't rare accidents. They're everywhere. When massive stars collapse, 10 to 20 times bigger than our sun, they don't just disappear. They compress into something so dense, so extreme, that even light can't escape. That's how black holes are born. And there are around 100 million of them in our galaxy alone. But here's where it gets weird. Some black holes aren't just star-sized. They're monsters, supermassive black holes, with masses greater than 1 million suns combined. One of them, Sagittarius A*, sits at the center of our galaxy right now, watching. So what happens if one of these cosmic predators turns its attention toward us? And more importantly, how close is too close? Technically, danger doesn't require a giant black hole. It could be something as small as a pinhead. Yes, just 1 millimeter wide. But here's the terrifying truth. If it's close enough, it could destroy Earth instantly. Because black holes aren't dangerous because of size. They're dangerous because of density. All their mass crushed into almost nothing. And that creates gravity so intense, it breaks reality. But here's where things change everything. There's a boundary around every black hole. A line you can never cross back from. It's called the event horizon. Once you pass it, escape becomes impossible. You'd need to move faster than light. And nothing can do that. So what happens if Earth gets too close? First, nothing dramatic. Just a subtle pull. But then, the side of Earth closest to the black hole starts stretching. And this is where it gets weird. The planet doesn't fall in all at once. It gets pulled unevenly. Our atmosphere begins to peel away, like steam being ripped into space. Oceans rise, continents crack, and then massive chunks of Earth start tearing off, pulled into darkness. But that's not even the worst part, because if Earth doesn't fall in immediately, it might get stuck in orbit. And that's when things become truly catastrophic. Imagine Earth trapped, orbiting a black hole. Not destroyed, not yet, just slowly dying. Because now a new force takes over, tidal gravity. And what happens next changes everything. The black hole pulls harder on one side of Earth than the other, constantly stretching it, squeezing it, over and over and over again. This creates friction deep inside the planet. And that friction turns into heat. A lot of heat. The Earth's core begins to burn hotter than ever before. And then, the disasters begin. Earthquakes tear continents apart. Volcanoes erupt across the globe. Megatsunamis swallow entire coastlines. A full planetary collapse. But here's the strange part. This isn't the end. Because eventually, Earth starts to stretch. Not metaphorically, literally, into a long, thin strand. This process has a name. Spaghettification. And yes, it's exactly as horrifying as it sounds. If you were falling in, your feet would feel a stronger pull than your head. Your body would stretch, longer, thinner, until atoms themselves begin to separate. But here's the twist. For supermassive black holes, this stretching might not happen until after you cross the event horizon. Meaning, you wouldn't even realize you were doomed until it was already too late. Now imagine this doesn't just happen to you, but to everything, the entire solar system. Because once Earth is affected, nothing stays stable. And here's where it gets worse. The delicate balance between the sun and the planets collapses. Orbits break, paths shift, planets could collide, or be flung into deep space. But that's not even the craziest part. The asteroid belt gets disturbed, and suddenly thousands of massive rocks start drifting inward, some over 100 kilometers wide. If even one hits Earth, it's over, instantly. But somehow, that's still not the worst way to go, because everything, asteroids, planets, debris, gets pulled into a swirling disk around the black hole, the accretion disk. And this is where it gets deadly. As matter spirals inward, it heats up to extreme temperatures, releasing powerful radiation, enough to kill anything nearby. So even if you survived the chaos, you wouldn't survive the radiation. But here's the twist that changes everything. There are planets that orbit two stars. So theoretically, could Earth orbit the Sun and a black hole at the same time? Maybe. But the gravitational forces would be so unstable, life would be impossible. And sooner or later, we'd be thrown out or swallowed. Either way, there's no winning scenario here. But what if we didn't try to save Earth? What if we tried to survive it? Imagine a hyper-reinforced spacecraft, strong enough to resist the pull. Crazy idea. But stay with me, because if we crossed the event horizon, something unimaginable might happen. And this is where it gets really weird. Physics itself could break. Gravity might behave differently. Time might stretch or stop. Even atoms might not function the same way. Everything we know could fail. Because inside a black hole, we have no data, no signals escape, no information returns. So what happens next? No one knows. But here's the mind-bending part. Some theories suggest black holes could be gateways to other universes, other dimensions, or something even stranger. And that raises a terrifying question. What if black holes aren't just destroying things?